Hello, everyone, and welcome to Molehill Mountain, episode 285. Andrew Eisen here, and I'm going to try very hard, to make it the entire hour without getting up to go to the restroom. Again. It's been a thing today. Don't know if it's an age thing or if it's just how it goes. Maybe I just am more hydrated than I really need to be. But man, I've just been making multiple trips to the restroom today. Cause for concern? Tune in next week and we'll see. So, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness comes out next week. And it hit the news about a week ago that the film was or was possibly banned in a few different countries, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and a couple others. But The Guardian reported early this week that according to a gentleman whose name I'm not going to be able to pronounce correctly, so I will just refer to him as Saudi Arabia's General Supervisor of Cinema Classification, because that's what he does. So he clarified to The Guardian early this week that the film is not being banned, but they did request that through the distributor that Disney make a small edit to the film so that it could be shown in Saudi Arabian theaters. And the cuts amount to, quote, barely 12 seconds, in which a lesbian character, America Chavez, played by actor whose name I also can't pronounce, but her last name is probably pronounced Gomez. So that, I'm probably right there. I'd be very interested. Xochitl. That's her first name. I have no idea how that's pronounced, though. Anyway, Chavez, the character, refers to her two moms. So this... Hello, Cafe Fox. So this slightly less than 12-second scene of a character mentioning that she has two moms, the General Supervisor of Cinema Classification for Saudi Arabia requested Disney cut out of the movie. Disney said no. Rightfully so. Because one should never, if one is in the position of power, needed to do so, one should never, under any circumstances, capitulate to the demands of bigots. The General Supervisor of Cinema Classification went on to say, it's just her talking about her moms, because she has two moms. And being in the Middle East, it's very tough to pass something like this. We sent it to the distributor, and the distributor sent it to Disney, and Disney has told us they are not willing. It will never be banned, he says. There's no reason to ban the film. It's a simple edit. So far they have refused, but we haven't closed the door. We're still trying. Trying to erase the existence of queer people from a movie? Not a laudable thing to be attempting, sir. But what I found very interesting about this comment was the General Supervisor of Cinema Classification for Saudi Arabia said, being in the Middle East, it's very tough to pass something like this. Barely 12 seconds of a scene where a woman mentions that she has two moms. It's very difficult to pass something like this. Which I find kind of odd because with a job title like General Supervisor of Cinema Classification, it sounds like it's his call. So, what's so tough about that? Just rubber stamp that stuff. Just say, yes, this is absolutely okay. And anyone so impossibly bigoted that they can't stand a movie where a character mentions she has two moms can stay home. Now, I don't live in Saudi Arabia. I've never been to Saudi Arabia. So I am, of course, making several assumptions here. It's possible that the General Supervisor of Cinema Classification is not a bigot, but a coward. Because it's possible that the General Supervisor of Cinema Classification is worried that he might lose his job if he doesn't get that offensive content cut. Maybe. But the General Supervisor of Cinema Classification sounds like, and I don't know this, I'm speculating and could be wrong, but it sounds like the kind of job that if you lost, you're probably going to land on your feet. You know, it sounds like the kind of job where if you run into a moral issue, you can do the right thing without worrying about how it's going to affect your life and family. Generally speaking, you know, the General Supervisor of Cinema Classification, are you going to be destitute if you lose that job, if you stand up for what is right? I don't know. Maybe he's just afraid of losing his job. Now, it's also possible that this is not the kind of job that you easily land on your feet. And if he loses this job, he and his family may end up destitute. In which case, I could see an extenuating circumstance where he's neither bigoted nor a coward. It could be the case that if he doesn't do this, he gets thrown in jail or something. Not saying that's the case. I don't know. Again, never been to Saudi Arabia, and certainly not a subject matter expert on that region of the world, or any other region of the world than my own, or even really my region of the world. But, so I mentioned this on Twitter earlier in the week. Because it's really weird to me. It's very tough to pass something like this. That's weird to me. No, it's not. You just pass it. I mean, you act like there's... I mean, what happens if you pass it? Is there like... Did someone make a bad wish on a monkey paw or a genie or something like that? Where if someone mentions two moms in a theater, the building collapses and crushes everybody inside? Is that why it's so difficult? I mean, if that's the case, then you have my sincere apologies for getting this whole thing wrong. But I'm guessing that's not the case. What it sounds like is bigotry. And you, the General Supervisor of Cinema Classification, are upholding it. Also, I don't have all the information here, just the Guardian article. But I find it kind of interesting that the way it reads, it sounds like the only cut they're requesting is this barely 12 seconds in which Chavez talks about her two moms. Or it very much, or at least mentions she has two moms. I don't see anything in this article that mentions that Chavez herself, a queer character, is asked to be removed from the film. Which is interesting. Because you would think that a person who is like, oh, someone mentioning they have two moms, that ain't gonna fly. Oh, a queer character? Perfectly fine. Not if they mention they have two moms, though. That seems unlikely to me. So what it kind of sounds like is Chavez is a queer character, but you wouldn't know it from watching the movie. Like, you might spot the little pride pin on her jacket, but I have a feeling that her mentioning two moms is like the only thing in the movie. I don't know. It's just kind of what it sounds like. Hey, Chicago. But then things got interesting. Someone responded to my tweet, which rarely happens. And this person, who I'm not convinced is a person, because their Twitter account was started this month, and they have one tweet which is a Middle Eastern hashtag for Doctor Strange, which was tweeted and retweeted by themselves the same day that the news came out that this film may have been was running into issues with the classification board. So what it looks like is this person created his Twitter account and started fishing for Doctor Strange news just to jump on people who have opinions like mine. You know, correct ones. No idea what strange Barbie Musk means? Well, we're talking about Doctor Strange now, so... So, this person responded to me, and one other person in a different article responded to them along the same line. So I'm not putting a lot of stock in what this person says, who doesn't seem to be a real person, who then stopped tweeting, has no followers, has tweeted, has like 4 retweets or something like that. Anyway, this person said, being a bigot and respecting beliefs are completely different things. It is in fact his call, and he tried as much as he could to cooperate. The fault is on Disney for not accepting such a small favor. You have no right to come in and talk about a country you do not know how it works here. As stated, it is hard to show something like that in our screens, and all we ask is to cut a 12-second clip. Whether you like it or not, it's not on you to call out. You're the bigot. And I find that an interesting response. Working backwards, I'll jump to the beginning in a sec, but the you're a bigot part. As I'm sure most people know, because it's pretty intuitive, being intolerant of bigotry is not bigotry. I hope that's not news to anybody. But let's go through this. This is an interesting comment. Being a bigot and respecting beliefs are completely different things. Well, that depends on what beliefs you're respecting. Are the beliefs you're respecting bigoted? Because there are some caveats, sure. There are some extenuating circumstances, yes. But generally speaking, if you are respecting bigoted beliefs, it's because you're a bigot. Because if you were not a bigot, you wouldn't respect bigoted beliefs, as bigoted beliefs should not be respected. Nor should anyone ever capitulate to demands stemming from bigotry. This person, if they are in a position to know, goes on to say it is in fact this person's call, and he tried as much as he could to cooperate. Nope. No, as this person said, it's his call. He could just pass it. It's his call. I've seen, no one has said anywhere, not this person responding to me, not the person himself quoted in the Guardian article, and nowhere else in the Guardian article, is it said that legally he can't pass this. So this person states that it is his choice, in which he could just pass it. The fault is on Disney for not accepting such a small favor. No, the fault is on him for capitulating to bigotry, or attempting to. The praise is on Disney, in this case, for not capitulating to a bigoted request. No, we are not cutting 12 seconds of the film where one person mentions her 2 mothers, because there is no good reason to do so. Now, is that to say that there are cultural sensitivities should not be accommodated when reasonable? No, it doesn't mean that at all. That's perfectly fine. For example, if country A was particularly squeamish and said that decapitations are not something we are comfortable showing in theaters, okay. Heck, you could have a particularly prudish company and says, kissing! No kissing in movies! We would ask you to please cut out the smooches. There's 3.7 seconds of smoocheroos in this movie, and we would really appreciate if you cut the 3.7 seconds of smoochy smooch. Please. That's... I'm okay, sure. You know, I'll be honest, I get squicked out by people snogging too. When I watch movies, I act like I'm 12. People start kissing, I'm like, yeah. Barbie, you mean them dolls girls play with? I get girls are the target market, I suppose, but not exclusively. But yes, the doll that came out in the late 50s, late 50s, early 60s, somewhere on there. Barbie's been around for a long time. Yes, Barbie doll. However, while it would be, you know, fine for a country to say, look, we just don't show kissing in our theaters, that's just gross. What would not be okay is if they said, no gay kissing. Kissing's fine, just not when it's two dudes or two dudettes. Then no, that's bigoted. It's pretty simple, really. You have no right to come in and talk about a country you do not know how it works here. You're half right. I do not know how it works in Saudi Arabia. But I do have a right to talk about it. Even if I'm wrong. So, you're wrong in that. I mean, yeah, I don't know how it works in Saudi Arabia. But I do have the right to talk about it. And I will exercise that right. Ugh. As stated, it's hard to show something like that in our screens. No, it's not. You just do it. It's like bending my finger. This is easy. It's like saying it's hard to bend my finger. Why? Do you have carpal tunnel, arthritis? Are you missing a finger? No, everything. You just do it. You just leave the less than 12 seconds of someone mentioning they have two moms in the movie. And do you know what happens? Nothing. Oh, sure, bigots are going to complain. But who cares? They're bigots. All we asked is that to cut a 12-second clip, close your eyes and plug your ears for 12 seconds. Barely 12 seconds. You know? You're a bigot. You can either deal with your bigotry or stop being a bigot. Whether you like it or not, it's not on you to call out. Well, I mean, yeah, you're right. It's not on me. You know, no one laid responsibility at my feet. But as mentioned earlier, I have the right to talk about whatever the hell I want to talk about. At least in this country, I do. Can't say the same for the rest of them. And but no, speaking out against bigotry does not make me a bigot. You cannot be bigoted against bigots. You cannot be intolerant of intolerance. Not how that works. Anyway, Doctor Strange looks neat. Although I did find it kind of funny because Disney Plus released their Legends explainers. So every time they release a new movie or a TV show, if it stars a character that has been in some of the other movies and shows, they'll release little episodes on Disney Plus that catch you up on what's been going on. So the Doctor Strange explainer says, here's what happened in Doctor Strange and Infinity War and Endgame. The only movies that Doctor Strange has been in. And I thought, no spoilers, but Doctor Strange is in Spider-Man No Way Home, which I don't feel is a spoiler because it's in all of the trailers. Are you telling me that plot-wise, nothing significant happened in that movie. Absolutely nothing worth a recap before we head into Multiverse of Madness? Or could you just not get the rights to to show footage from Sony's film? I think it's probably the latter. Or it might be they could have, they just didn't want to pay for it, or they just didn't want to show footage from a film that they can't stream on their own platform, at least not yet. I just thought it kind of funny because the explainers just completely ignore Spider-Man No Way Home like it doesn't exist. And if you've seen the movie, I think you might agree that there's some plot points in that movie that might in some way be relevant to what happens in the new Doctor Strange movie. Maybe. Jared says, this is the scene adding anything to the narrative, because if it isn't, there is a reason to remove it. Is it adding any... Huh? This is the scene adding anything to the narrative, because if it isn't, there is a reason... I'm sorry, I can't parse your sentence. I'm not clear what you're asking or stating. But anyway, I'm excited to see Doctor Strange. Except I don't know when it comes out on Disney Plus. Probably not for at least 6 weeks. Will I go to the drive-in to see it? Maybe. I mean, the problem is the drive-in's like really dark and it's hard to see stuff. Just because it's, outside. I mean, it's outside at night, but it's still the picture is... Encanto was fine because it was bright and colorful, but Ghostbusters Afterlife, Spider-Man No Way Home, Venom, those movies were actually really hard to see. As Eternals, man, any scenes in those movies that take place at night, I'm like, I can't see what's going on. So will I see Multiverse of Madness in the drive-in? It's gonna depend on if they do that... multiple screens for the drive-in does a double feature. If Multiverse of Madness is both movies, then no. I'm not paying to see the same movie twice in a row. If they pair it with something else, even something I'm not that interested in seeing, sure. Inside theaters are better. Well, presentation-wise they are, but the problem is there are other people inside theaters. No one else is inside my car at the drive-in, so that's how I do it. All right, moving on from Doctor Strange, let's talk about Barbie, because there's going to be a Barbie movie. Where did I put my Barbie stuff? Hang on, I had a tab. There was totally a tab somewhere. Where's my tab? Here, Barbie. There she is. Okay, so Barbie, the movie, coming out in theaters next summer, the 2023. So Barbie has been around since like late 50s, early 60s, somewhere around there. So like 60 years, many decades. They've had some animated movies, but so far as I know, they've never done a live-action Barbie movie, which is kind of surprising considering how ubiquitous that character is. You'd think they would have done a movie by now. As Lee says, Barbie been having movies, don't think they'll stop. Yeah, so far as I know, they've all been animated. She's even had a couple of video games. And yeah, I'm pretty sure it's LJN who did the video game. And is it bad? Yeah, it's bad. So, what are they gonna do with a Barbie movie? I don't know. But, Skipper better be in it. And there better be a scene where she gets taller and her boobs grow when she circles her arms like this. Because the toy did that. I'm not kidding. There's a puberty Skipper doll. I don't know exactly how the doll was branded, but if you rotated her arms like this, her torso would get taller and her chest would expand. Not kidding. That's a real thing. I also insist that Derek be there. You're probably all familiar with Ken. Derek was the one of the characters from the Barbie and the Rockers line, I think. But he needs to be there because he's way better than Ken. Ken is bland. Derek's where it's at. And his butt needs to make a weird creaking noise every time he bends at the waist. Because that's authentic to my childhood experiences, you see. Because I would play Barbie with my sister, and all of our adventures would, at some point, feature Derek's creaking butt. Because Derek had a broken butt. We don't know why. We don't know why Derek's butt creaked, but every time he bent at the waist, his butt made a creaky noise. And I know that may be exclusive to my sister and I's experience, but I still hope that's in the movie, even though it would only tickle my sister and I. Lee says, is this going to be better? Is this going to be the better of all the Barbie movies? No idea. I've not seen any of the Barbie movies, so I'm not sure where the baseline is. I think it's like being directed by Greta Gerwig, and I think Margot Robbie's in it. So there's some talent behind it. So could be good. So in all seriousness, though, what are they going to do with the movie? I have no idea. But if I were making the movie, it would probably be terrible. Still, I might be inclined to lean into the fact that Barbie has had dozens upon dozens upon dozens of careers over the last several decades. In everything from education. I mean, she's taught dance, aerobics, art, gymnastics. She's taught sign language and Spanish. She's taught swim, yoga, volleyball, tennis, all kinds of stuff. She's also had careers in medicine, including an optometrist, a dentist, a nurse, a surgeon, and a veterinarian. Ain't just exclusive to human medicine. She's been in the military. At least 4 branches. She's been in the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, and the Marines. She has a political career. She's been this was exclusive in Germany, but she was a German chancellor. She was also the U.S. president. She's also been a presidential candidate 5 times. She's a UNICEF ambassador. Sent plenty public service jobs, from lifeguard to firefighter. Firefighter! That brings up an image, doesn't it? Even a post person, a mail carrier, Canadian Mountie, park ranger. Lots of STEM stuff: architect, astronaut, astrophysics, computer engineering, entomologist, geologist, game developer, robotics, rocket engineering, paleontologist, marine biologist, works in transportation, both as a pilot and a flight attendant. I guess you just put the damn plane on autopilot and then goes back and serves some snacks. NASCAR driver, tour guide. She's been in the arts as a chef, a ballerina, designer, fashion model, film director, designer and fashion designer, hairdresser, Olympic athlete, movie star, makeup artist, photographer, photojournalist, pet stylist, rapper, and rock star, and singer, and a TV chef, and a wedding stylist. She's an accomplished businesswoman as an executive, a secretary, a See's Candy cashier. Okay. News reporter, banker, chicken farmer, also hairstylist, news anchor, babysitter, pet groomer, noodle bar worker, coffee shop worker, soda fountain worker. She is also competent in a lot of different sports: basketball, football, several different Olympic events, including rhythm gymnastics, baseball, Tennis, skiing, snowboarding, figure skating, rock climbing, skateboarding, martial arts, ballroom dance, scuba, and a cheerleader. She's also been in a beauty pageant participant. This is a weird one. Apparently, she's been a cat burglar. Okay. Also a cowgirl. Been a DC superhero and villain. She's been Barbie, Wonder Woman, and Catwoman, for example. Don't know how that works, but sure. She's also been a wildlife conservationist, Arctic rescue person, and a mermaid. And a beekeeper. So, quite the resume on Barbie. So, my idea for the Barbie movie is we're going to have like a international espionage spy adventure movie, right? So like a James Bond kind of a thing. Okay? So we have MI6 or whoever is they're like, okay, we have here's the mission. We're going to need someone who is an international celebrity. We're going to need someone who is master of medicine, both human and every single animal, so veterinarian and human medical worker. We're going to need someone who can drive a truck and fly a plane. We're going to need someone who's a computer science major and someone who has military experience in at least 4 branches of the military. But here's the problem. This mission can only be one person. Where are we ever going to find someone with all of those skills? And then someone is sitting in the back of the room, like Quint by the chalkboard in Jaws, in the shadows and leans forward into the light. I think I know just who to call. And then the phone rings. Title card, Barbie, coming July 2023. There you go. When you need someone who can do absolutely everything, you call Barbie. So I can't say I'm excited to see the movie because I have no idea what they're doing with the movie, but I'll admit I'm excited to see what they're planning on doing with the movie. Could appeal to me, could not. I don't know. We're definitely not going to be seeing a trailer until probably at this time next year, so I wouldn't expect any news on this for a while, but yeah, Barbie the movie. I say lean into the fact that she is overqualified for anything she could ever want to do. She's immortal. She's been alive since 1945, and that's how she's had all these experiences because she's immortal and bores easily. So, let's see. What are we talking about? Do they make all the characters look like plastic toys? I doubt it. My guess is it's just a live action movie. Although it would be funny if the characters drop their pants and they have no genitalia. They're doll featured under their clothes, and no one comments on it. It's like there's a locker room scene, like the gearing up scene, and they strip down and they're all doll genitalia'd, and no one comments on it. It's just what people look like without their clothes in this world. Nippleless and nippleless chests and smooth groins. They could do that. So this movie, says Cafe Fox, will just be her trying dozens of different jobs. Yeah, maybe it's a really unfulfilled person who's trying to find her calling, and it's kind of like a Dirty Jobs with Barbie. She just tries out a bunch of different jobs. I still like my spy, Mission Impossible with one person kind of thing, because she's the entire team. Mission Impossible, you had Jim Phelps, who was Mr. Bridges the first season, but Jim Phelps, who was the guy who put it all together. You had Cinnamon, who was the the girl. You had Willie, who was the strongman, Barney, who was the technician, and then you had Roland, or starting in I think season 4, Paris, who were the master of disguise kind of person. Well, here it's just Barbie. She does all that. Your mom had the Wizard of Oz dolls. I don't know which dolls my sister had. Barbie was to me. Barbie was just Barbie. The different versions. I don't think, at least, I don't think she cared so much about what version the Barbie was, just that it came with new clothes. Rocker Barbie was, oh, this is Barbie and this is Rocker Barbie. No, it's just Barbie. I just gave her new clothing to wear. So she had Barbie, probably many different Barbies, but she also had, I remember the puberty skipper. We had a Ken doll, we had a Derek doll. It's amazing. Derek and Ken have big damn feet. You can almost, Barbie, you need some type of plastic stand to get her to stand vertical. I mean, typically you just play with dolls like that, but you grab them by the waist and you just move them around. If you want Barbie to freestand, they have tiny little feet that are permanently pointed, so they're not going to balance by themselves. Derek and Ken, had big flat feet, so you could kind of balance them if you were really careful, but yeah. So anyway, we had fun adventures. My sister had the dream house, which I think had an elevator. Which is tough because the Barbies are all like 10 or 12 inches tall, so all their accessories, like their vehicles and the Barbie Dream, they're huge. My toys were all Ghostbusters, He-Man, Transformers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all those dolls. Those are like 6 inches. So the Ghostbusters firehouse is only like that big, but the Barbie Dream House, a lot bigger. So, Lee says, but the Barbie on Toy Story, they don't even take off their clothes, so maybe there's something people don't want do for children. So maybe that's something people don't want do for children movie. I would guess that there's probably not going to be nudity in the Barbie movie. Probably not. I doubt this is going to be an R or even PG-13 take on the property. It'll probably be PG. But I'm just spitballing because I think the idea of a Barbie movie could be a lot of fun. But the possibilities for a Barbie movie are just endless. So who knows what they're going to do? Could be great, could be mediocre, could be bad. I don't know. We'll see in a year or so. All right. Let's talk about charitable giving. So, many of us strive to be good people and help our fellow peoples when and where we can, within our means. And while it's nice to be nice and help others, there are definitely rules of thumb one should follow when helping out their fellow persons. There are right and wrong ways to go about helping people. For example, if I saw on Twitter that my neighbor had a GoFundMe for something, they're like, hey, we're starting a little GoFundMe, cost of living is outpacing the salary, so, if you can chip in, that would be great. If not, don't worry about it. And you think, I have the power to help out here. And so I go to the grocery store and I buy 16 tubs of peanut butter and I leave it on their doorstep and I take a selfie and I broadcast to the whole world on Twitter what a wonderful person I am because I helped out those in need. Praise me, praise me, praise me. And I made a big fuss about how awesome I am on Twitter. And of course that attracted some local news media attention who went over to my neighbors and said, so what do you think about Andrew? You know, the guy who gave you all the peanut butter. And they're like, well, I mean, you know, his heart's in the right place, I guess, but we don't need peanut butter. Jeff's allergic to it, so we really have no use for it. This is not what we needed. We really wish he would have, you know, asked. But, yeah. And then I saw this interview, and I called my neighbors a pedophile. Because I am a thin-skinned nitwit. That would be the wrong way to go about helping your fellow person. Now, how could I have handled this differently? Well, I could have asked them if they wanted my help, and if they, you know, privately, like, you know, not on Twitter or across the breezeway with a bullhorn or anything, but just gone over and say, hey, saw your GoFundMe, I have some spare resources, is there anything I can do to help? And if they say no, then I say, okay, well, you know where I live, anything I can do to help, let me know, and go home and leave it be. Find another worthy cause to expend my resources on. But if they say yes, then you say, wonderful, how can I help you? What do you need? And then they tell you what they need, and you do that. That's how you help people. You ask if they want help, and then you ask them how you can help. And you do that. That's the correct way to go about helping people. Let's talk about Elon Musk. A couple years ago, there were a dozen kids stuck in a cave that flooded in Taiwan. And there was a multi-day rescue mission set up to get these kids out of the cave. Elon Musk got on Twitter and said, I'm sending engineers down there and we're going to make a submarine, a little mini sub out of our SpaceX parts, TM. That's right, Bart, look at this cool thing we're doing. We're going to make a mini sub so they can go in there and rescue people. Ha 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 ha. The folks mounting the rescue mission said, okay, that's not what we need. That won't work for a variety of reasons. We appreciate your enthusiasm, but that's not what we need. And Elon Musk said, well, I'm just going to leave this here. And he apparently left the little mini sub in Taiwan and took his marbles and went home. They did not use the sub because it wouldn't have worked. And it was not what the situation required. What the situation ended up requiring were expert divers and scuba equipment. And they used that, and they got all dozen of them kids, and I think they had an adult chaperone there too, out safely. But now Taiwan has a mini sub if, you know, they ever need it. So, I mean, that's nice. And certainly not pooping on Musk's certainly incredibly altruistic desire to help out, where, you know, I mean, it's totally possible that Musk said, ooh, look, people are in need of help. and I have a poop ton of resources. But instead of asking them if they needed help, and if so, what help they needed, he built a sub and left it on their doorstep. That's not the way to go about it. I mean, it doesn't automatically make him a bad person. It makes him possibly ignorant and out of touch and in need of guidance from peers who are not. I'm not a peer. He's not going to listen to me. Don't expect him to. But I really hope the dude has someone around him who, other than yes men, you know? So after that incident, many of the rescuers were interviewed by various news organizations, and they were inevitably asked about Musk's sub. And the responses generally ranged from, his heart's in the right place, we couldn't use it, but we appreciate anyone who wanted to reach out to help, to another guy who said, yeah, he's just a grandstander. He was just doing it for attention. And Musk saw that and called him a pedophile. Which, not the most mature reaction. Which, even the internet at the time, and his, to use modern parlance, his stans at the time was like, dude, no, dude, no. And so a few days later, Musk did a very shitty apology. You know, one of those, I'm sorry if you were offended kind of apologies. It's like, I'm sorry you took it the way, you know, tempers were flaring, but I was in the right even though I lost my... You know, that kind of... Yeah. So, some person on Twitter said, hey, Elon Musk, very wealthy person, Flint still has that whole water crisis if you just wanted to... You know, if you were looking for good things to do. So, Elon Musk said, ha-ha! I am on it! And of course, he immediately learned his lesson, and he contacted the appropriate parties in Flint, Michigan, and says, I would like to help. Would you like my help? And if so, what can I do to help? I'm just kidding. He didn't learn shit. He did exactly the same thing and said, I'm going to buy filters for everybody. And spent, I think, $480,000 to give Flint water filters. Which by itself sounds nice. But if he had, asked what they need, he would have found out that water filters were not it. Because pretty much everyone in Flint had water filters. Now, granted, water filters are not going to last forever. I mean, you leave them too long, they're going to grow bacteria and stuff. So, but also, a water filter is a Band-Aid on top of the problem. So, what he ended up doing is spending $480,000 on water filters when what they really needed was water. If he'd asked, they would have told him, like, we need bottled water, lots of bottled water. And we also need to actually replace all of these lead pipes that are corroded and leaking into the water supply. Just putting filters on stuff is something we're doing and is something that's necessary, but it's a stopgap. It's not the solution. Our news media is very bad at following up on stuff. So most people heard Elon Musk donates $480,000 worth of water filters to Flint, Michigan. What a hero. Whatever came of that, you might ask. The last I could find was an article from last August, 2021, that said, after 3 years, Elon Musk's water filters are almost ready. So, yeah. We've been in a pandemic for the last 2 years and change. You might have noticed. One of many noticeable things is the majority of us have not been doing so well financially. At the very least, a lot of us are, especially during the front of the pandemic, made less money than we did the year before the pandemic started. That's a common story, and it's understandable. A lot of us lost our jobs. A lot of us, if we didn't lose our jobs, had our hours severely cut, which was the boat I was in for 4 months or so. Yeah, about 4 months or so. Yeah, my first time on unemployment. So, which I closed that year several $1,000s shorter than the year prior, but without the unemployment, it would have been a lot more. So I'm glad I had that, and I hope you all made it out okay too. So the pandemic has been financially hard on most everyone. But not most billionaires. In fact, I've not heard of a single billionaire who didn't make money during the pandemic. Is there one? I don't know. I haven't heard if there is. But collectively, the world's billionaires made multiple trillions of dollars during the pandemic. Just something you might have noticed. So, the United Nations has a program called the World Food Program. Can you guess what that does? It does what it can to positively impact food scarcity and hunger, where in the world it happens. So, Lee says only ones not affected is ones that have jobs at home. 2 degrees, I would say. I work from home and I was affected. I mean, as I said, my hours were cut from 40 hours a week to 10 hours a week. So I was affected, just not as hard as others who couldn't work from home and had to, either they had, they were essential workers, so they couldn't work from home. Or they lost their jobs outright. So it affected different people to different degrees. But I would say someone who can work from home, as long as they didn't lose their job, they certainly, people who could work from home made out better than those who couldn't. It was at least less dangerous. And so, yeah, it kind of depends on the person. But billionaires, really rich people, they did fine. So the World Food Program, the director of the World Food Program, has, for the last 2 years, been talking about billionaires and saying that, if all the world's billionaires just stepped up and gave a one-time donation of a small portion of their wealth, we could seriously impact world hunger. We could do so much good. We could bring 40 million people out of food poverty, or whatever the number is. Well, last October, he's been doing this for years, by the way. Last October, I think it was, he was being interviewed by CNN or one of the other news stations in America, given the same spiel that if all the world's billionaires just gave a one-time donation of like 2% of their unfathomable wealth, we could greatly positively impact food scarcity and hunger. And he cited specifically Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, 2 of the richest dudes on the planet, and said, he said, take Musk for example. 2% of his net worth, which is a couple, $100 billion, is like $6 billion. With $6 billion, we could do so much good. So Elon Musk, his spidey sense started tingling. He's like, someone somewhere is talking about me. And he got on Twitter and said, if the World Food Program could show to me how $6 billion will end hunger, I will donate it right now. You see what he did there? I don't believe Elon Musk is phenomenally stupid. I don't think he's as intelligent as he thinks he is, or as he wants you to think he is. But I don't think he is as phenomenally stupid as his public statements might lead one to believe. I think he knew what he was doing when he said, if you can show me how 6 billion will eradicate world hunger, I'll donate it right now. Because I believe he knew that's not what the claim was. The claim was not 6 billion could eradicate world hunger. It was it could greatly impact it. Not eradicate it, greatly impact it. So what it sounds like is Elon deliberately moved the goalposts so that when the World Food Program person inevitably said, well, it's not going to eliminate world hunger, Elon could go, up, see, can't be done. I tried. If it could have been done, I would have done it, but... But the UN's World Hunger guy said, corrected Elon and said it would not eradicate hunger. I never said it did. I said it would positively impact. Here is the executive summary of exactly how we would use that $6 billion. So let's get together. I'll fly out there and we'll talk and we'll make sure everything's done out in the open and transparently, and we'll get this stuff done. Yes, it won't eradicate world hunger, but it will make a sizable dent. Elon went radio silent. Now you could say that, well, the program's list of how they would use the money didn't show that it would eradicate world hunger, which was the qualifier that Elon gave him. So he doesn't owe him shit. True, but that's not what anyone claimed in the first place. And I don't believe Elon is so phenomenally damn stupid that he didn't know that going in. According to the Securities Exchange Commission, Elon Musk, shortly after this debacle, this brouhaha, made a $5.7 billion donation. Did he do it? Did he give nearly $6 billion to the World Hunger Program? Or World Food Program? No. Not according to the... Do I have the right name? Let me double check the World Food Program. Yeah. Not according to them, they have not seen a single solitary cent from him. So, no. But according to the Security Exchange Commission, he did make such a donation. To whom did he make the donation? We don't know as of right now. Did he put it in a donor-advised fund? Possibly. Those are one of those things that rich people like to do, which the money kind of usually ends up just sitting there for years and not helping anyone. Did he donate to his own charitable foundation? Possibly. Who knows where that money went? But I believe, and I base this belief on Musk's his habit of self-promotion on various social media platforms and news platforms that will have him, which is pretty much all of them, that if that nearly $6 billion had been donated anywhere worthwhile, we definitely would have heard about it from him. If he'd given that money to WFP, oh, he'd have let us know. If he didn't give it to WFP, but gave it to some other competing similar charity, saying that, well, WFP couldn't meet their end of the bargain, but I'm still gonna, because $6 billion, what's that mean to me? I'm still giving it to these worthy charities that I have more faith in. Haha. Okay, fine. I believe he definitely would have said something, because his past history indicates that he would. He'd have bragged about it. And that he hasn't bragged about it, I have high confidence in the fact that it didn't go anywhere particularly worthwhile. So Elon Musk decided to buy Twitter for $44 billion. Something you can't eat, by the way. So he wasn't interested in spending $6 billion to put a sizable dent in world hunger, but over 7 times that for to buy Twitter, which doesn't do really anyone any good. That was something he was for. That would be kind of like me. Like if someone came up to me and says, "Hey Andrew, are you the philanthropic sort?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I philanthropic all over the place. My thropics are all philans." And I said, "Well, tell you what, for only $6, you could give this family a very merry Thanksgiving." And I said, "I'm going to want to see an itemized list or something that shows exactly how my $6 are going to be spent to give this family a happy Thanksgiving before I give you my $6. Yeah? Oh yeah. Here's exactly how we would make that happen." You know what? Instead of spending $6 to give a family a happy Thanksgiving, I'm going to spend $44 on sushi for myself. Actually, no. I'm going to spend $44 on a picture of sushi for myself. An NFT of sushi. Instead of spending $6 on another person who could really use it, I'm going to spend over 7 times that on something that I don't need. As you may have guessed, my opinion of Elon Musk is not very high. I don't think he's a particularly smart person. I don't think he's a particularly good person. I don't think he's a particularly competent person either. Oh, he has his competencies, but they're mainly all self-promotional in nature. You know, he knows how to sell himself. He knows what companies to buy and when to give them up to make himself money, but yeah. But if you've followed Elon Musk for any amount of time, if you ever actually listen to the dude talk, it's clear that he's just an out-of-touch asshole and doesn't know what the hell he's talking about most of the time. That's never been more clear than this past week. He's been tweeting on Twitter this week like he wants Twitter to ban him before he owns it. 'Cause, wow. Now, Twitter, like the United States of America, is a great idea and has many wonderful parts. But a lot of it is not executed well and causes a lot of people real harm. I have fun in my little corner of Twitter with you lovely people. But not everyone else's experience is quite the same as mine. Twitter is also a platform that regularly hosts bigotry and violent threats and harmful disinformation. I've been engaged in a little project, a little personal project this year, in which I've occasionally, when I have a few minutes, I just surf the Twitters until I find something that is clearly and inarguably in violation of the terms of service, and I report the tweet to see if any action will be taken. And I'm not talking about light teasing, I'm talking about blatant transphobic bigotry or mass harassment, calls to commit suicide, harmful disinformation, concerning medical advice, things like that. I have 81 this year, since January 1st, I've been counting. I have reported 81 separate tweets over the course of the year. Twitter has taken action on 0 of them. That's not to say Twitter never takes action on anything. Did give Donald Trump the boot after he lost his job, after he'd incited an insurrection, and after his disinformation and inaction on the pandemic got hundreds of thousands of Americans killed. But hey, better late than never. Now, as Elon Musk tells it, the problem with Twitter that he's coming to fix is a lack of free speech. Yeah. Think about that one for a bit. He says free speech is the bedrock of a functioning democracy. Sure. But it's, as I said on Twitter, it's concerning when someone looks at a company that platforms hate speech, disinformation, and violent threats and thinks free speech is the goal that's not being met. It's concerning that someone looks at the hellscape of Twitter and says, you know what this needs? People aren't freely expressing themselves enough. There's an adage, you can judge a person by the company they keep. There's truth to that. It's at very least a good way to spot red flags. And Musk keeps really bad company. You can tell by the fact that he retweets and is stanned, again to use modern parlance, by some of the absolute worst people on earth. Those are red flags. If my audience, if the most vociferous, animated, loud portion of my fan base, such that it is, consisted of really terrible people, I might pause and self-reflect. It'd be like, wait a minute. Why do bad people like me so much? What am I doing that's making all of the bad people really happy? Now, is Twitter ultimately going to be, is this whole 44 billion thing going to be actually going through? Who knows? Musk notoriously gets bored with things very quickly and moves on, so you never know. Is he going to make Twitter worse? I would argue his tweeting already has, but it can't get much worse. I mean, the people that are in charge of it now, Jack et al., are themselves genuinely shit people. So, I mean, it's not like you could get it much worse, but, you could make it worse. So, but, well, I mean, I can tell my followers this much. In spaces that I control, like my YouTube channel, my Twitter feed, and stuff like that, bigotry, hate speech, threats, harmful disinformation, and just outright being an unpleasant asshole, you will get kicked out of my space. Because it's my space, and I control it. It's not a violation of free speech. Suggesting that I can't do that would be a violation of mine. So, yeah, let's see what the chat's at. Let's see. There were a few people talking about the pandemic. A few people laid off, went on unemployment, then refused to go back to their jobs. Apparently, they were getting more money getting unemployment. I imagine that. In some circumstances was the case. That some people were making more on unemployment than they were at their jobs. But what that says to me is that we're not paying our workers enough. That doesn't, to me, say that people are lazy, broadly. I mean, individuals could be, sure. But that's an indication that people need to be paid living wages. I believe many things. One of them is this. If you work 40 hours a week, whatever it is you do, whether you're doing brain surgery, or filing books at the library, or entertaining people on Twitch, checking people out at the grocery store, spinning a signboard on the sidewalk, delivering newspapers, delivering the mail, digging a ditch, building buildings, running a company, working for a company, writing copy, editing copy, whatever it is you do, whatever it is someone pays you to do for 40 hours every week, you should be paid enough to live. Whatever it is you do. I believe that. If you work 40 hours a week, you should make enough money to live. You should be able to afford a place to live. You should be able to afford food to eat. And you should have enough left over to pay any medical expenses you may need. And, buy a donut or a video game or some marijuana edibles or something. So, yeah, I imagine there probably are some cases where people collected unemployment went, well, shoot. I'm making more money on unemployment than I am at my job. That's an indictment of the job, not the person. So, there have actually been studies on that kind of thing, and most people actually do want to work. They just want to work in a safe environment that actually pays them enough to live. I mean, you have to remember also, imagine you, not anyone specific in the chat, but you in general, were faced with that situation. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Should I go to work and risk my health, potentially, or the health of my family, for less money than I would earn by not doing that? That's not difficult calculus. And I can't fault anyone for doing that. But I certainly do fault anyone who is not paying their peoples as well as they should, and not creating a safe work environment. Because another thing I believe is you shouldn't have to worry about dying when you go into the office. Most rich people are greedy, though. I kind of... it's a shame I don't know of any genuinely good billionaires. Like, really genuinely good people. I mean, there's some that are less bad than others, and some that are just very quiet. But yeah, they all seem to be just. It's like you can't become a billionaire unless you're a bad person, because it involves, exploiting and mistreating other people. To get to that level of wealth, you have to be a shitty person who exploits and mistreats people. Seems to be, anyway. But I'd like to try out that theory. So if anyone wants to, leave their massive fortune to me, call it a social experiment. Let's see if I become just a horrible, nasty asshole. A greedy, curmudgeonly miser. I'm willing to take one for the team to find this out. IMO, billionaires usually don't seem to care to help other people. They don't seem to. I mean, a lot of the philanthropy we see from the richest of our fellow citizens, it seems to have at least strings attached, and those strings seem to be attached to, self-image and tax breaks and things like that. Seems to be. Yeah. Hopefully there's just a really genuinely awesome billionaire out there somewhere who doesn't mistreat or exploit anyone who works under them, who uses their vast wealth for good. I mean, if you had $100 billion, what would you do with it? Just sit on it? I mean, I would like to think that I'd be like, hey, World Food Program, I've got like $100 billion. How much to end world hunger? Would 99 billion do it? I'll just keep $1 billion for myself. And I'd still... Andrew, you'd give away $99 billion to make the world a better place? The world, the one that I live in too? Yeah! And you know what? I would still have $1 billion left over. So, I mean, I would like to think that that's something I would do, but maybe money changes a person. I don't know. Twitter lacks free speech. It does not. At all. My Twitter lacks free speech. The follow-up was Musk lacks a firm grasp on reality. Yeah. Yeah, there are no free speech issues on Twitter.com. You are allowed to say almost anything, which is not good, because you can say harmful things. You can, bigotry shouldn't be allowed. Threats shouldn't be allowed. Harmful disinformation should not be allowed. It doesn't have to be. Serves no purpose other than harm. There have been a couple people, two that I know of. Charlie Kirk is the only one I remember off the top of my head. Also just a shit human being. He and someone else whose name I forget who it was, did that thing where they broke the toss and got suspended. Not banned, but suspended again. I forget what they did. Something bigoted or threatening. I don't remember. But a lot of them are acting like Musk already took over the reins at Twitter, which he hasn't. This hasn't gone through yet. Microsoft doesn't actually own Activision yet either. But he and someone else were like, "We're back! Praise Musk!" And it's like, no, you just deleted the tweets that you got suspended for, so ending your suspension. That's how that works. You've tweeted this, take it down, and we'll reinstate your account. And then they took it down, and they reinstated their account. It's like, haha! Musk has unbanned us! Free speech for everyone! No, you're a liar. That's not accurate. I mean, if I were on Twitter, I'd kick I'd kick you off the site just for being crappy. Well, don't be crappy. This is really easy. Don't be a bigot. That's easy. Just don't be a bigot. Or at the very least, don't say and do bigoted things. Think whatever the hell you want. Be a bigot all you want. I mean, actually, please don't. But, remember, bigotry is something you do, not something you are. It's a choice. You choose to be bigoted. So, harmful disinformation, you don't get to share that stuff. And just being seriously mean and unpleasant to people, nah, not gonna fly. Now, I wouldn't say, automatic ban instantly, but, I'd hire a huge team of people, the budget depending, and, talk to people. It's like, hey, don't be a jerk. I'm not saying no one can tease anyone or no one can call out bad behavior. I'm talking about the really harmful stuff that, sadly, we see every single day. And would my army of moderation peoples be able to get it all? No, of course not. It's impossible. Too many damn people in the world. But we could do better. I bet. Twitter most likely won't sell. Oh, you think this deal's not going to go through? Man, I don't know. I mean, I have to imagine that I don't know about the people actually in control, the CEOs and shareholders and stuff. But I imagine a lot of people who work for Twitter are like, oh God, this sucks. Because, I mean, all you have to do is look at the last week of Musk's tweets, and like I said before, it almost feels like he's daring Twitter to give him the boot. Like, it's performative assholishness. And also, again, he's interacting with and responding to and platforming and retweeting just some of the worst people. And I'm not talking about worst as in just unpleasant. I'm talking about people who are actively working to subvert our very democracy. People who spread conspiracy theories where other people end up shooting people, which has happened. And these people are still on Twitter. Yikes. Chicago clarifies, I wasn't suggesting they were lazy for not going back. I meant they were getting paid crap. Yeah. Right. Chicago also, who wants to go to a job where they cut a lot of positions and expect the remaining employees to pick up the slack without getting compensated? Yeah. Yep. Your head's in the right place. Well done. So, happy note? Leave on a happy note? Because this is all kind of depressing. I saw the Batman... No, that's not a happy note. That movie... Batman bad. I didn't like the Batman. Which makes me sad. Because I like Batman, but I didn't like the Batman. And I was hoping I would. Because the superhero movies I've been watching lately have been bad. No review for the I mean, I'll talk about it on monthly movie mini reviews with my sister in upcoming weeks. But there's not going to be a fanboy finally watches video because that's a new movie that I didn't miss it the first time. I actually saw this one. Good things. There's a neighborhood cat who I see often when I'm out on my run, and he's adorable and friendly, and filthy because he's an outdoor cat, but always gets up and walks to me when I run by, so I make sure I take a break and give him some pets, and then when I leave, he usually yells at me and swats at my feet, trying to get me to stay. So, I guess that means I pet good. I don't know. You ever what's the word? You ever doubt yourself and think, man, what if I'm bad at petting? What if cats and dogs and stuff are like, oh God, this person's the worst at petting. How do you screw this up? Oh, I'm gonna bite you, Chicago said, Batman bad. Still haven't seen it. To be clear, there's a lot about the film that I did like. there's some individual moments, some Batman-y individual moment things that are fun. There's some cool explosions. I really like what they did with the Penguin. I really like what they did. I thought Catwoman was very cool. I like the basic conceit of the entire film. I like what I think they were going for. I just don't think the movie is very good. And that bums me out. Oh well. Could I have made a better Batman movie? No, I probably couldn't. I doubt filmmaking is in my skill set. Cats will let you know if you suck at petting, says Lindy. Okay. All right, so that's it for tonight. Cats are good. Dogs are good too. Not as good, but dogs are pretty good. I mean, if it's a competition between... dogs are definitely second place pets. If the competition is only between cats and dogs, if you start adding in, ferrets and snakes, tarantulas, bearded dragons, rabbits, then it starts falling further and further down the list. But dogs are still good. Not as good as cats, but still good. Just not as good. Alright, that's it for tonight. Tomorrow, more Trails in the Sky SC. We might beat the game tomorrow. We might not. We are in, I'm guessing, the final dungeon. But there's a lot of bad guys in there. There's Weissman, who's the big bad. There's Luciola, Ren, Walter, and Blue Blanc. So the main four society. But there's also Campanella, and Louis, and maybe still Gilbert. So there might be a lot of boss fights ahead of us. So we may not get through the entire game in the next session. But when we do beat Trails in the Sky SC, one of my viewers sent me some Trails in the Sky stuff, something. Stickers, dolls, patches, pins, candy. I have no idea what's in here. But when we beat Trails in the Sky SC, I'll do a little unboxing, and we'll see what Trails goodness I was gifted. So, some more Trails tomorrow at noon Pacific Standard Time. I hope you will join me. I'm looking forward to the game's ending, and then, moving on to the third game. So, thanks everyone for hanging out with me tonight. Hope you enjoyed my depressing rants. And hope to see you tomorrow for some gaming fun. Good night, everyone.